What's up everybody, Arrg the Pirate here, and today I got to play a little bit of Terra in the solo lane. As always, let's go over the deck. Now I have Ruthless, Lifesteal, Piercing Basic, Healing Towers, Mana Reactor, and lastly Damage Return for my gems. Now for my cards, I have Demolitionist, Exoskeleton, the Mother Tree, Green Spring, Nitro Boost, Growth Totem, Overclock Droid, Heavy Hitter, Thunder Cleaver, Unbroken Spirit, Compensator Rig, and lastly Shatter Golem. Before we get into the match, let's go over her abilities. Now, Ruthless Assault is her first ability, and it's really her damage dealer. She spins twice, dealing 2 rounds of damage, one for a little, the second one for a lot. This is her damage dealer, guys, so I'd recommend picking it up quickly. Next up, we have Defending Command. Now, this is an AoE stun that Terra slams her shield and axe together, stunning enemies for roughly a second and a half, and it deals a small amount of ability damage. This is a great tool paired with that Ruthless Assault. Next up, we have Counter Guard. Now, Terra raises her shield, blocking a single ability over 3 seconds, so 3 seconds total. And during that time, if she takes any damage, she gets a shield for the damage that was given to her, so it's a pretty good ability. Lastly, we have Unstoppable Force. Now, Terra raises her helmet, and she's granted a shield for 300 or 500 damage, and is unstoppable, which basically means she's immune to crowd control effects for 4 or 5 seconds. This is an awesome ability, although I have not found just the perfect time to use it. You can use this ability to get out of roots, which is nice. So in the match, you'll see I get out of a root from Quang, and I'm able to chase him a little bit, but still, that just instant of root was long enough for him to get away. Now, it's been an absolute pain to play Terra. You know, there's been a ton of draft dodges today, and I want to say there's still a few issues with servers. I actually got quite a bit of lag in a few matches, and there's just, you know, been that typical thing going on. So we did get this match, and this was actually the best match that we had, just without having DCs and things like that. So I, decided to use this one, and it's a pretty solid match, although we don't get very far into in-game. Now, the idea behind this build was I can go both tank and damage dealer if I want to. I've seen some people run her full damage, and when you run her full damage, she's really tough to deal with. But I haven't really seen anybody build her full tank yet, and not even, I haven't even built her full tank yet. So, I'll definitely keep that up and try it out. I haven't really synced up with her well yet. I've got a couple of times that I've used her ult decently, but I've never had, like, a Gideon ult that I run through and just beat him up, which I definitely want to do that, but I haven't had that happen yet. Now, one thing, dot damage heroes absolutely tear her up. I faced a Zinx in the solo lane in one of my matches, and her shield is basically useless against a Zinx because, you might block the initial part of that, but you're still going to get hit with those dots unless you actually block that kitty claw. But, the first shot, you might not block that. So, basically, if you ever get hit with a kitty claw, if you ever raise your shield, you're not going to get a really shield, that bonus shield for it. And if you do, it's so minor, but you're only going to block one instance of damage, and it's almost pointless to use it on someone like Zinx or even Morgesh. Morgesh does a fairly decent job. Just really any hero that has that kind of dot or hot damage where, they throw something on the ground, you just take that small little tick. That really renders her shield useless, so that's a very good counter for her. And I actually found Zinx to be a pretty decent counter, although with Zinx's less heal that she has, you can stun her and hit her with that Relentless Assault or Ruthless Assault, and it does tons of damage, guys. So definitely pick up that Ruthless Assault first, and, you're good after that. Now, one thing, she does use quite a bit of mana, and so you need to be aware of that. You can also use that Ruthless Assault to do AoE damage. If you saw there at the beginning of that fight, we kind of went in on that Quang, and although we were hitting the minions, he was taking the full damage from that because it is 100% cleave ability. And I did not get minion aggro because it is an ability. So that is definitely one thing you can use as a tool. You know, if someone's coming in there to poke, you can use that and you hit the entire wave. You know, the only issue with that is if you do use that ability, you're going to naturally push that wave. So if you're trying to freeze, definitely stay away from that Ruthless Assault. Now, for the most part, this is a pretty solid solo lane match. Ruthless Assault is an ability, so it does not work on towers, and, you know, your stun's a stun, it doesn't work on towers. You can actually block tower hits with your shield, so if you are going to dive a tower and, you know, just take that last couple of hits, or you want to stay in on a tower because, you know, a minion wave is coming, something like that, you can use that shield, just like Greystone's Reflect. You can use your shield to block that, and you actually get that overshield from using it. So you can use your shield to block it, and then get the overshield, and then you'll actually just absorb pretty much most of the damage from the tower for the next hit. So you can actually take 2 tower hits with her, and hey, that's awesome. Now, so far, you know, this is real standard laning stuff, guys, and, you know, we kind of do a little poke. I definitely would like to really kind of do 1v1s with other heroes just to see where we are. Now, I don't have any power cards on yet. I do have Green Spring, so I'm not really taking a whole lot of damage. But you can see I definitely had the upper hand in this fight against Quang. And, you know, hey, Quang's actually a pretty tough hero to deal with. But, again, I have Green Spring, and he doesn't have Green Spring yet. He's running Coal of the Week and Coin Master, I believe. So, you know, I've got a pretty big advantage on him, and, you know, that's huge. Now, this is going to allow me to back, and I go ahead and pick up Demolitionist so I can push lanes a little more. I would like to, you know, be able to rotate, especially if we're going to force Quang out of lane. And you can see here his build. So it's Exoskeleton and that Coin Master. So I've definitely got quite a bit of card advantage on him, although he just backed, so he should be coming back with a little more cards. So, you know, that's something to be aware of, but right now, you know, we are just kind of tanky, and, you know, again, this is just really standard laning stuff. We're going to go ahead and push this lane a little bit. Now, once I get a handful of cards like I do now, you know, once I get 7,000 gold in or so, I start playing a little more aggressive in my lane and really trying to push this. This is not only going to help, you know, down this tower and keep the pressure off so they're not able to rotate, but it might allow me to rotate to mid or things like that to, you know, help those other lanes. And that's exactly what we do here. You know, I've got that lane pushed. I'm going to make a very quick rotation, but I kind of see, hey, nothing's going on. So I get back to my lane. You can see this is a very fast rotation, guys, and this is exactly what I want. You know, this frees me up. You know, it resets my lane. Sure, it does take me out of farm a little bit, and, you know, the hero might get a level advantage on me, but it will be very minor. And, you know, staying up at that tower is just really unsafe. So it's best to rotate and maybe even help out another lane. You could see there was a team fight there in mid, kind of down by the Raptor pit, but, you know, it was a very quick rotation, like I said. And again, we just kind of go back to dealing damage. You can see that stun paired with that Relentless Assault or Ruthless Assault. I'll remember the name eventually, guys. You can see it chunks down some damage, guys. That is definitely a powerhouse of an ability. And so I think with her dealing that much damage, it might be, you know, until people kind of figure it out or figure her out, how to counter her, things like that, it might be decent to run her with tons and tons of damage. But, you know, as of right now, I'm just kind of waiting around until I can start putting on those damage cards. Now, Quang did head over, and, you know, we'll be able to hopefully wrap this kill up. But Quang does a great job of juking us. You can see he goes one way, I go the other, and, you know, he ultimates and heads back. You know, that's a great juke on his part. But, you know, fool me once, guys. I know what he's doing now. Now, this does free me up to back. I'm going to go ahead and throw on Nitro Boost and Demolitionist with that Green Spring. You know, I could go for my growth totem, but I've found myself playing with it less and less, and I definitely take it off because it's quite a bit easier to farm in the off lane more than it used to be. You know, in this 1v1 lane, I'm finding myself getting farm up quite a bit faster. So, you know, I haven't been using growth totem near as much anymore, and I kind of think that's the general attitude towards growth totem. Now, I did go in on that tower, and you can see I went up the ramp and jumped off through the jungle, and this was because, you know, I don't want to turn around and run down the lane, because, you know, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with Quang or whoever. Now, he did throw his sword, so we want to kind of stay away from that sword to avoid the damage, of course. You know, I wasn't out of the range. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the range is anymore, but, you know, hey, no problem. Let him waste his mana, you know? I'm not worried about him wasting mana at all. But from here, I'm going to, again, rotate. I'm able to pick up this river buff, which, you know, hey, picking up a river buff, that's always good. And then again, head back to my lane. You know, I couldn't really make anything happen in mid lane. You can see Morgesh is all the way in her tower, so there's really no point in me going in there and, you know, taking a little bit of poke. I'm just going to back away from that and go back to my lane, continue to farm. Now, coming up is my first real challenge. Now, of course, I don't want to die. You know, I'm trying to play the best that I can. But I would definitely like to take Quang on 1v1. And you can see I use my ultimate to negate his root. And then we're going to kind of go in on him a little bit. And, you know, of course, he pushes back. So you can definitely use that, you know, use your ultimate to negate roots, things like that, as long as you have mobility. You cannot do that to actually negate stuns. If you're stunned, you cannot use your ultimate, so you have to use it before a stun happens. So running into a Gideon ult, things like that. Now you can also use that ultimate to run through any sort of CC. So if there's a Tesla Dome up, you can pop that and you don't get affected by the slow, but you still take the damage. And you saw I kind of went head to head with Quang, and he definitely got the better of me on that one. But really, you know, it's still early on, so, you know, and I was taking tons of minion damage as well as everything like that. It's very hard to get into just 1v1 solid fights like that, but, you know, we did the best we could there. Now, Wukong heads over to my tower to defend it, and you see that damage from that ruthless assault, guys, power damage card, or ability. But you saw, I knew what Quang was doing. He threw that sword down, he was gonna ult back, and I was there. And luckily, Wukong was able to wrap up that kill. And from here, we're going to go ahead and push down this tower. Now, I am in comms with Wukong, so that really helps out. And I'm telling him, hey man, help me down this tower. We should be able to get this tower. With Sev here, you can see I'm doing work on Sev. And so I've clearly got an advantage over Sev, which is nice. You know, Sev is jungling, so it might be different if you're in that lane. But, you know, when he's heading over as a jungle, you can see I'm definitely more fed than him, and I was not struggling with him very much, even with Wukong being there. His abilities weren't hitting all that hard, so, you know, hey, she might be able to lane against Sev. I would definitely like to get in a lane with Sev, because as of right now, you know, he's pretty tough to deal with. Now, I'm going to go ahead and head back and put on that heavy hitter, so I'm going to start building damage and really see where I can go with damage. I throw on Growth Totem just because I have a free slot. But again, guys, this card is just a placeholder. I am not keeping it at all. You know, I had room. But from here, you know, we've got a pretty solid counter push, so we definitely need to head back to our tower. Unfortunately, we didn't make it in time. They're able to take down our T1. But, guys, it's a T1. Who really cares about a T1? Really, when T1s fall, it's a good thing. This allows you to rotate, free yourself up to help out with your team. So from here, what I'm going to do is, of course, get this lane pushing in the right direction, and then I'm going to head to mid. Now, I couldn't set that lane because Quang was there, and I know he's going to counter push it. But that's fine. I just need to be aware that, hey, I'm going to have to rotate over there quickly. And you can see we're going in on this Steel and Morgesh. And, you know, they're doing quite a bit of damage to me, but one thing that, worked out very well is that double stun. I was able to get that AoE stun on both Morgesh and Steel, and, that's huge. Having an AoE stun on a tank is, wow, on a front line, that's very nice. And it's a stun, guys. It's not a root, so, if you've got Chimera beating you up, hey, stun him, get his stacks off. And, this is a pretty big stun. We don't have a whole lot of AoE stuns that are quite like this one. And, it's definitely a solid ability. But, again, after that mid lane, we're able to take it down. But I've got to head back to my lane because, again, Quang was pushing that lane pretty good. He chose to not involve himself in that team fight and lane push instead, which he got some damage on our tier 2, but you could see, we were able to wrap up a couple of kills there in mid. Now, from here, again, I'm just going to get this lane pushing in the right direction. You can see Wukong's chasing off Quang, so hopefully he'll back, and this will allow me to set this lane and really rotate to help out my team. But unfortunately, Quang he didn't take enough damage, so he's able to stay in this fight. But again, we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to force this lane and then rotate elsewhere. He does root me, but, I'm not worried about a root at all. One thing about him rooting is, I can see if he's going to use his ultimate, and I can use my shield to block his ultimate. And that's huge, guys. So, it didn't happen, but hey, no problem at all. I'm not too worried about Quang at the moment. I'm going to rotate. I do know he is going to be counter-pushing that lane, so I have to keep an eye on it. But we're going to head to mid, kind of get this lane pushing in the right direction. And then me and Wukong are actually going to peel off and maybe try to get a gank onto Quang. You can see they've got 3 teammates down, but they end up surrendering, which, yeah, you play a couple of matches and man, the surrender game is real. But I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple other clips, some highlights from those other games. Now, one clip, we kind of show off the stun and just how good this stun is, guys. Now, you can see Zinx. This is the game I'm soloing with Zinx, and she's putting a ton of pressure mid. So, of course, I get my lane under tower, and, hey, we're doing work. And, this is very early in the match. You can see I don't have any power card on, so I'm not doing a whole lot to it. Now, Zinx does head over, so I know I'm going to have to leave very quickly. But I definitely want to make sure this tower goes down. I could have got out much, much sooner because we did have 5 minions in, but, is what it is. Now, I do use that stun here, and you can see the amount of damage I'm doing to Zinx with this relentless assault. We're able to take her out. Fortunately, we go down, but hey, a T1 and a kill, you be the judge, but you can see the power of that stun. We just stunned both those heroes, and we're able to wrap that kill up. Now again, I'm running that same build with Terra, and we're heading over to this team fight. We're able to follow that Fey ult up with our own stun, and we're able to do a little bit of work, but you can see I'm taking quite a bit of damage. I do use my shield, but you can see that dot damage, it negates a lot of the actual hits you're taking. So right there, Morgesh had that hive on me, and I just absorbed just that one tick of dot damage, and then got destroyed. You can see on the screen it's buggy, the character emblems are all goofy and whatnot. Now in this clip, we're kind of getting to a little engagement here in the river, and you see the Gideon heads over, and he's able to throw down that ultimate, and I get stunned. I'm not able to use that ultimate of my own, which, hey, that's unfortunate. And, as of right now, we got to get out of this, but it's going to be very difficult because, I am out of mana, but we do manage to get out. But you can see, if you get stunned, there's nothing you can do. You can't use that ultimate once you're stunned. Now, my last clip is kind of showing off her basic damage. Now, here, I'm out of mana, and, the enemy team does have a pretty good minion wave. But you can see my basic damage just isn't hitting all that hard, even though I do have Guard Piercer. I am facing a Quang who can, put that shield up. But you can see most of my damage is coming from that Ruthless Assault. So if you're out of mana, if you're building that damage dealer, you really need to have that enough mana to actually, use that ability. but if you're not running that ability, you're going to struggle quite a bit in just getting damage done. You can see, especially against someone like Quang, who's just going to be able to heal up the damage that I'm doing, and maybe even, you know, shield most of it with that, you know, Gift of the Heaven, Light of the Heaven, whatever that other card is. You can see I do get enough mana to actually hit him with that stun, but still, you know, I'm not doing a whole lot with basic. So really, you know, your damage dealing ability is where that damage is coming from. And when you're out of mana, all you have is your body. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this first look at Terra. She's a pretty good hero, and I'd definitely like to play her a little bit more and kind of learn her kit better. But if you did enjoy, show me some love, leave me a comment, think about subscribing, join our Discord if you haven't done it. I'd love to play with you, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.